Now once you have your Next.js project, let me install Tailwind CSS inside this project. Using Tailwind CSS, you can rapidly build a modern website. So just type Tailwind CSS on Google and head on to tailwindcss.com. Here you can find the documentation of Tailwind. Click on the Get Started, and from here you have to click on this framework. I'm using Next.js framework, so I'm going to click on this Next.js, and now you have to create your project. We done that. Then you have to enter into your project directory and execute this command: npm install -d Tailwind CSS, post CSS, and auto prefixer. So you have to install all these 3 packages inside your Next.js project. So I'm going to back to my project. I'm going to open my terminal, and here I'm going to paste that npm command. This is going to install all these 3 packages inside my project as a development dependencies. Now once you have all these packages, you have to execute this command: npx tailwind css init -p. Let me clear the screen, execute this command, and when you execute this command, it's going to create 2 files. It's going to create tailwind config.js and post css.config.js. You will have both these files in the root directory of your project. Now the post CSS is going to configure the Tailwind CSS and the auto prefixer, and the Tailwind config file is going to allow us to use Tailwind CSS in the Next.js project. You have to add your file location inside this content. So what you have to do is you have to open the Tailwind config.js, and inside this content you have to paste both these statements. Now these statements tell Next.js that we are using Tailwind CSS inside pages and the components folder. I'm also going to add one more statement here. Let me copy this statement and specify that here. And instead of pages, now I'm going to specify here layout. This is because I'm using Tailwind CSS in the layout folder as well. So I specify that statement here. So inside pages, components, and layout, I can use Tailwind CSS. Open the global.css file and paste all these 3 statements inside it. So I'm going to open the styles, and here you have the global.css. Here you have to specify all these 3 statements at the top, right up here. Back to the Tailwind CSS, and now you have to start the development server. So I'm going to open my terminal, clear the screen, and here I'm going to say npm run dev. When I press enter, it's going to start the localhost 3000, and when I click on this link, it's going to open my Next.js project on the localhost 3000. Now let me check the Tailwind is working or not. So let me copy this h1 heading tag and then specify that inside these pages, inside this index.js. So I'm going to get rid of this main. I'm going to get rid of all this content and specify this h1 heading tag. Save this file. As you can see, the Tailwind is working. We have the border to this h1 heading tag, and we have the font bold to this hello world. Now just out of that, I want to specify my global font family to all this text. So inside this global.css, right up here, before all this statement, I'm going to add my global styling. So I'm going to back to the Google and search for Google font. Click on this Google font website. So I'm going to head on to the fonts.google.com and search for my favorite font, which is the Poppins. I'm going to select the Poppins font and select the regular styling. So I'm going to choose this regular 400, select the style, and you have to import this style in your project. So click on this import statement and copy this import link. Once you copy it, you can specify that inside your global.css file. And just after that, instead of this body, I'm going to specify this Poppins font family to all my elements. To specify that, I'm going to first select all the elements and select all the descendant elements. And then I'm going to specify this Poppins font family. So let me copy this and then specify that right here. When I save the changes back to my project, you can see I'm going to have the Poppins font family to this text. Next, what I'm going to do is I'm going to close both these files inside this index.js right here. Get rid of this footer because we are not using it, and get rid of these meta elements. And instead of this create next app, here I'm going to specify homepage, or you can say home. That's upon you. You can see the title is homepage. Now once we have the homepage, let's create the login and register route. So back to our project, and inside these pages, here I'm going to create a new file and name this file login.js. This is going to create an endpoint called login, and I'm going to have all the content of this login page on the login endpoint. Then I'm going to create a new route here and name this route register.js. That's upon you. You can specify any name to this route. Now inside this login.js, we need to export the default function. So we say here export default function, which is going to be login. And this is going to return a very simple division tag with h1 heading tag with login title. Save this, copy this function and specify that inside this register right here. And instead of this login, now we specify register, and we change this login to register. Save this, back to the project, and here if you navigate to login, you will get your login page, you can see, and if you navigate to register, you will get your register page. Now just out of that, I have to specify head to both these sections. So at the top, I'm going to say import head from next head, and I'm going to copy this head and then specify that inside this div, something like this. Now this is going to allow me to add a title to this page. I'm going to specify here title register, and I'm going to copy this head and then specify that inside this login page. Instead of register, now I'm going to specify here login, because this is the login page, and then I'm going to import this head at the top, right up here. Save this file, and if you're back to the project, you can see you have this title register, and when you're back to the login page, you will have this login title. In the finished website, we have the same panel for login and register. So instead of creating the same panel in both these components, I'm going to create a layout component and use the component. So let me show you how you can use layout component in this project.